Today's go-to-market metrics consistently mislead us because they're rooted in an outdated funnel model, one no buyer wants to be a part of. They reflect yesterday's motions where marketing generated leads and sales simply closed them. The world today is very different though. Marketing educates and nurtures buyers through their entire customer journey, from initial impression to pipeline to closed one. After the sale, marketing can play a pivotal role in renewals and expansion as well, and even post-churn referrals and returning customers. Sales and CS are equally complex and interconnected, shepherding customers from the initial impression all the way through to renewals and expansion, all while leveraging marketing content and events along the way. Why? Because buyers demand it. Buyers themselves have become more complex with ever larger buying committees. Teams rely heavily on research, peer recommendations, and self-serve content like marketing assets and pre-recorded demos, all prior to ever talking to anyone in sales. Kyle Poyer wrote a post on this and it inspired us to want to do some content and dive deeper. One of the biggest problems we have with our pipeline generation metrics is that MQLs don't buy, companies do. MQL targets are the number one reason why sales and marketing are misaligned, and it's also the number one reason why pipeline generation and revenue targets are consistently missed. It's by far the most misleading KPI in go-to-market. Before any B2B buying decision is made, 6 to 10 people participate in the decision on average, and in larger deals, this number can be 15, 20, even 25 people. MQLs attempt to measure a single individual's engagement just with our marketing content and to predict the likelihood of the entire buying committee making a buy decision. Everyone's been screaming that MQLs are dead for a long time, and there's a number of reasons for this. MQLs ignore buying committees. They often fail to factor in ICP and buyer personas properly. They usually fail to factor in third-party intent. They fail to factor in customer usage of our product. More often than not, sales thinks MQLs are worthless, and oftentimes they're right because MQLs are just not converting to revenue nearly enough. Part of this is a problem with the leads themselves, and part of this is a problem with how those leads are managed. Let's talk about how to fix both. Tracking account stage changes our entire go-to-market. To fix this, we need to look holistically at the entire account to see where it stands and if we're making progress, moving that buying committee closer to evaluating, buying, renewing, or expanding with us. We wrote more about this in our Allbound framework as well, and Kyle Poyer had some very interesting ways to look at this. I absolutely love this visual where we talk about the old way of tracking MQLs from visitor to MQL to SAL, etc., versus a better way of looking at accounts holistically as identified, aware, interested, etc. And this visual right here is a great way to look at where accounts lie and what tools we can use to measure it. We talk about accounts that are identified, aware, interested, etc. What tools we can use to find data that indicate where they're at in their buying journey. And this is a great way to think about how our entire go-to-market engine is succeeding or not succeeding at moving entire buying committees through their evaluation of our product. As much as I love this though, it only factors in new business. What about customer health, renewals, and expansion? We could add account stages post-purchase like onboarding, unhealthy and healthy customers, expansion opportunity, or former customer. And this would allow us to look at every account through their entire customer journey with us to identify where they stand and what actions we may take next. By shifting our focus from MQLs to account stages, we're forced to look holistically at our entire go-to-market engine, from marketing to sales to CS. This allows us to see how we build trust with accounts and generate pipeline, both new business and expansion, to drive revenue growth. This radically changes how we look at costs and investments in go-to-market, alleviates some of the pressure to get attribution perfect, which will never happen, and breaks down silos, aligning our entire go-to-market team on the same goals. Let's talk about tracking account coverage. Okay, so we've got the perfect account stages. What are we doing to drive them? We're doing lots of things from marketing to sales to CS, but a big part of this is sales activities and meetings. We need to carefully track these across each account. We've talked a lot about capacity planning and territory planning that hopefully results in sales and CS reps having the right number of accounts such that they're able to cover all of them without skipping any steps. We need to track whether or not they're doing this. We should track these calls, emails, LinkedIn DMs, and the meetings that they're booking off of that to each account and also to each contact in the account, or at least target contact or persona. We can track the number of sales activities per account and per contact and which resulted in a meeting. And this allows us to quickly see why one rep is moving accounts in their name through their journey and another is not. We can then couple this with marketing activities to see which accounts receive marketing emails, attended webinars, downloaded or subscribed to our content. And this gives us a holistic picture of what we're doing to move accounts through the evaluation process. It allows management to provide real coaching to the go-to-market team on how to improve. Most importantly, it allows us to see what's working and what's not working to attract buying committees. Okay, so how about the metrics? Let's talk about PipeGen Metrics 2.0. We spent a lot of time talking about these concepts here because the metrics themselves are really pretty straightforward. We talk about the number of accounts by stage, activities by account by rep, meetings by account by rep, stage conversion rates by rep, and of course the cost of that conversion. Kyle talked a lot about running and testing experiments in his article, and I don't want to just plagiarize him, but I really agree. If we can clearly measure our inputs, meaning marketing, sales, and CS activities and money spent, with the outputs, like stage progression and revenue, then we're in a far better position to test new ideas and iterate more quickly. This means we spend less money to generate more revenue because we can double down on what's working and either fix or cut what's not working much faster. This means we can attract and deploy more capital to grow faster, and that means that we can grow the value of the company faster. Let's talk about how we operationalize account-based. This is all great, but if we don't actually put this in action and get our team to execute this process, then it's all for nothing. We can ping RevOps and quickly spin up new fields and reports, but this does nothing if the team is not executing. Those reports can be incredibly valuable, especially the activities, the meetings, and the stage conversions of accounts, but we need to use those reports to drive execution. More specifically, we need to have clearly defined processes on what our people should be doing to drive these metrics. And we need to have a management process to hold them accountable to executing that process. As an example, sales managers could pull up an account coverage report and sit with reps to talk about how they're covering their accounts and what results they're producing from that coverage. This makes or breaks the initiative. It makes the difference between having data in those reports that we trust and having data that we don't trust. It makes the difference between consistent execution and each person doing their own thing. Most importantly, it makes the difference between hitting our PipeGen targets and missing them and not knowing why, or at least knowing what's not working. There's a big catch here though. This only works if executive leadership is behind the initiative. There's another catch here. We don't need perfect metrics, we just need useful ones. Part of the reason companies fail here is because we overcomplicate things. We try to build the perfect system, one that nobody will ever adopt. We need to keep it simple to get useful metrics. One of Kyle's key takeaways is that every go-to-market function should know where their target accounts are in their buying journey and what actions we can take to move those accounts forward. That's the right mindset, but it doesn't require perfect reporting. It requires metrics that are accurate enough to take action. If we wait until every account is perfectly tagged, every persona is mapped, every journey is instrumented, we'll be waiting forever. So what we should do is start small. Define clear entry and exit criteria for each account stage. Automate as much of this as possible. For example, we could integrate calendars, and every time the first meeting with an account or contact is booked, we update the stage. And we create simple reports and a simple review process for management to make sure that they're looking at this and driving execution of that process. Useful beats perfect every time. And now we can see how effective our entire team is in generating pipeline. We can then drill into what we're doing to achieve this and the processes, systems, metrics, reports, and the management review necessary to drill into the next layer. Well, what do we do if we're stuck? If we're still tracking MQLs and generic PipeGen coverage, we're not behind, we're in the majority. The difference between teams that evolve and teams that don't is pretty simple. The teams that evolve stop trying to duct tape new metrics on top of broken processes. Instead, they fix the process first, then they drive adoption of that process, then they inspect the data on a regular, consistent basis, and then and only then do they iterate. Usually that means focusing on one metric and one process at a time, consistently looking at this and driving execution until you've got it right. If you want help getting there, our team has operationalized this process for dozens of go-to-market teams. Reach out to us in the link below or the link in the comments, depending on where you're watching this video, and we can discuss how we might be able to help your team.